YouTube crew, welcome to the Smash News Network, the busted name of news. Today we're going to be talking about space. Yeah, talking about space. The channel largely exists because space, a frontier. These are the voyages of SNN. And the reason for it is because space is going to be increasingly important moving forward. So there's going to be an emphasis on private space travel. There already is an emphasis on private space travel. So expect that to do nothing but continue. So coming at you today for a minute from the kitchen. This isn't a post bike ride stream. This is a just chillin' stream. So yeah, just chilling and gonna not touch bikes for 2 days. So a little bit about me, if you're new to the channel. And make sure you press subscribe if you are. I was going to major in cosmology, so I was in the process of changing majors. I realized that I didn't want to be a computer information science / math major. Market research told me to do that on the way out of high school because it was the highest paying job. So, and of course it was an emerging market, so it's easier to get in on anything at the ground level than it is to worry about getting in a thing, you know, when it's well established. So that was sort of what happened there, and I decided to not do any of that because when I took college astronomy, I realized that there are some problems with the astronomy. So, and those problems led me to, hey, Kimberly, way to show up and not be unconscious yet. Doing great. So yeah, I was going to major in cosmology, but when I took college astronomy, I noticed a hole. Yeah, a black hole, not a coronal hole, a massive radio source. No, seriously, I noticed that there was a hole in heliophysics. I expected there to be like a whole chapter about the sun, right? Because what is our basis for knowing what's going on in a distant star, right? What is our basis? Does anybody know what our basis is for, you know, theories as to what's going on in the core of Betelgeuse or in the core of galactic core M87? Or does anybody have any idea what the basis is for that stuff? It's all based in heliophysics, okay? So, you know, our basis for all of cosmology is the local star. So when I took college astronomy, I noticed that there was not the information that I expected regarding heliophysics. And I thought there would be, you know, I thought there'd be a whole chapter about it, talking about the sunspot cycles and the magnetic field reversals and all that stuff. But in 1990, I'll say 95, I took college astronomy. That was when I noticed that it wasn't legit. Like, I could have majored in cosmology if I would have moved to California. I would have had to have gone to UCLA. That was like the only place that had, and I'll get to your comments here in a moment. Please keep leaving them. I will get to the comments. I would have had to have moved to, I think UCLA was the only school in the US that offered cosmology as a major. Now that doesn't really matter because majors are sort of irrelevant anyway. You can study whatever you want and major in whatever you want, right? You can do whatever you want. But you know, you could do like an astronomy major with a physics minor, or you know, something like that. It doesn't matter. You could just be an astronomy major, and if you get a BS in astronomy, you can be a cosmologist. You know what I mean? Like, it's not that big of a deal. And I knew at the time that I could get a 4-year degree and get hired by NASA. You know, no questions asked. Measuring Cepheid variables, yeah. They needed a lot of people at the time in the mid-90s to measure the redshift of Cepheid variables. So because we were trying to figure out the galactic ladder. And when I say we, I mean mankind, human civilization, science was trying to figure out how far away all those galaxies were, because we just finally got good images of them in places like the Hubble Deep Field image. You know, the first Hubble Deep Field, people were like, what is this? Oh everything looks so crazy. You know, there are a lot of galaxies out there. And so we were trying to figure out how far apart things were, right? Because for stars in the Milky Way galaxy, we know their distance very accurately because we are able to use parallax. That is the change in their relative location in our sky caused by the Earth's rotation around the sun. That is sufficient to very, very precisely measure the closest stars in our interstellar environment. Beyond that, you've got to use, well, you don't have to use, but we use redshift because there's a special type of star called a Cepheid variable, which emits a seemingly very consistent wavelengths of light. And those very consistent wavelengths of light give us the ability to guess their distance based on how much that light is redshifted. So, and of course, most galaxies are moving away from the Milky Way galaxy. So when you start talking about distances outside of the Milky Way galaxy, and most stars in the Milky Way galaxy we can't measure using parallax. So, just to give you some idea of how far away things are, the galactic core is about 26,000 light years away from Earth and the Sun. The Andromeda Galaxy is the largest local neighbor, M31 in the Messier catalog. That one's actually moving toward us, but most galaxies are moving away, and it looks like the ones that are the farthest away are moving away the fastest. And but there are some problems with this, okay? A paper just recently came out. Shout out to Eugene the Philosopher for bringing me up to date on this. Thank you so much. You are an invaluable resource to the channel. Eugene the Philosopher, he has a YouTube channel as well. Please subscribe. And thanks everybody for tuning in, by the way, because that's pretty good. I mean, we've only got 2 likes though, so if you wouldn't mind pressing some of the things, we'd appreciate it. So anyway, there's a recent thing that came out that's looking like when we look. So let's say the galactic core is right here. Let's say the galactic core is here, right? If you're looking at the galactic core, the galaxies that we see on the other side of that, specifically the quasars are a specific type of active galactic nucleus. Let's just say AGNs, active galactic nuclei. The active galactic nuclei on this side of the galactic core seem to be moving toward us. Whereas if you turn around and look this way, the opposite direction of the galactic core, for the Milky Way galaxy that is, Sagittarius A star is the radio source at the core of the Milky Way galaxy. But if you look in the opposite direction, those galaxies are inordinately moving away from us. So this may tell us something about the underlying physics of light. It's pretty serious. So this could be like a big deal as far as cosmology goes, because again, we use redshift as a distance ladder. All right, so when you're looking at objects, if you figure out that one is 10 light years away, right? Let's say 1,000 light years away, just for sake of explaining how this works. If you have a galaxy that's, let's say, 1,000,000 light years away, okay? If you have 1,000,000 light years away galaxy, so about 10 times the diameter of the Milky Way galaxy. Imagine that. Here's the Milky Way galaxy, right? Imagine 10 of those. That's about 1,000,000 light years, because the Milky Way galaxy is about 100,000 light years in diameter. 125, I think, but let's just, for sake of argument, say 100,000. Imagine 10 Milky Way galaxies side by side. If you know that an object is 1,000,000 light years away, an object that you can tell is behind it, let's say there's another galaxy that's partially overlapping it, right? You know it's farther away than that forefront galaxy because you can see them overlapping, right? This is part of how we measure how far away things are. That's the distance ladder technique. But then there's also redshift. So when we see a Cepheid variable light up in one of those galaxies, its wavelength gives us an idea of how far away it is. The problem is the Hubble constant, okay? Because the Hubble constant is the rate of acceleration that we believe everything's accelerating apart from each other, and this affects how the distance measurements are done. And like, I don't want to get into a super long explanation about it, but it's a very important aspect of cosmology, how far away things are, right? So anyway, but I digress. I was going to major in cosmology. I didn't major in cosmology because I didn't like heliophysics. I thought it was highly incomplete, and I don't really believe a lot of the aspects of the stellar evolution. All right, so there are some problems with the observations of the phenomenon occurring on the sun, and there are no observations of what's occurring in the sun. Okay, because we can't, like, you could say, okay, it's emitting neutrinos, but that's about it, and that's not a direct observation. That's an emission. So it's not the same as looking in a thing. Okay, here's the thing. If I look in the thing, that's not the same thing as if I have a detector out here detecting neutrinos, right? It's not the same thing. So anyway, so that's the point. We have no observations from inside the sun, and that's largely because of the strong magnetic fields that start in the solar corona and just get stronger and stronger as we work down toward the photosphere where sunspots occur. At that point, the fields are very, very strong, and we can't see through them. They are opaque to our instruments. So, which brings up the solar opacity problem. There are all kinds of problems with the observations, okay? There are many, 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 many observations of the sun that are not backed up by reasonable explanations by the standard model of stellar evolution. So the standard model of stellar evolution is that, you have a core that's primarily fusing hydrogen and helium together, and that's what makes a star work, right? So, and of course, we've got heavy elements in the solar system, so it's theorized that this is a what we call is it called a generation 2? Because it's not a plain old system that only has hydrogen gas. It has metals. So in cosmology, we call everything to the right on the periodic table of helium to be a metal, because the theory is that generation 1 stars are limited in what they're able to do because of the availability of heavy elements and so on. So anyway, and of course the heavier elements, they're produced inside supernovae, and it's pretty complex. If you take standard college astronomy with lab, you'll learn about this process. Shells get created inside supernovae and so on. That's the standard model, okay? And if you have beef with the standard model, if you're going to refute the standard model, you have to understand it first. So that's the thing. All right, so what do we have here? We've got some comments, and thanks for leaving comments. Elbow Macaroni says, if I lived in Bikini Bottom, I would eat at the chum bucket and pretend like it just to give plankton one moment of joy. Yeah, I would definitely chill with plankton. I would help spitball ideas, right? Spongebob is one of my favorite cartoons ever, maybe my favorite cartoon of all time, because it's a real science nerd cartoon made by a real marine biologist to teach kids about marine biology for real. Like, that's why it's depicted in the way that it is, okay? Squidward is the dumbest squid in all of the ocean because he gets outsmarted by a starfish and a sponge and a crab. He works for a crab. He has like a contractual duty to work at the crab's place. Like, squid eat crabs. So it's insane. Like, Squidward is the dumbest squid in the entire ocean. Like, this is a thing that's not understood in the show, but starfish and sponges aren't exactly what you would call smart animals, all right? Look, they have a certain level of intelligence because I don't even think a sponge has a nervous system. Like a sponge is a crazy thing. It's like just this side of a plant. It's known as an animal, but like you can literally take a sponge and like cheese grate it, and you just have a bunch of little sponges that will grow into like clones of the sponge, I think. So yeah, sponges are bonkers things, and like that show is so science nerd you don't even know. Next time you see SpongeBob, just watch it and think about what's really going on there. I mean, I don't know how much you know about marine life, but like Steven Hillenburg created SpongeBob as a college project to teach children marine biology. It's a real science nerd show. So, and that's what's being depicted, okay? It's the smartest sponge, the smartest starfish, and the smartest crab, and the dumbest whale in the history of the ocean. So that's how absurd it is. It's the level of absurdity is just bellissimo. Anyway, so yeah, I mean, I would definitely. Oh, and it's also the smartest plankton. Like, think about how smart the plankton is. Plankton is a unicellular organism. So, I mean, obviously, plankton is zooplankton, right? Not phytoplankton. Um, but yeah, that's the smartest plankton as well. So the SpongeBob SquarePants depicts a lot of like absurdly intelligent animals, and one really dumb one, Squidward. Like Squidward, and really all the squid that are depicted, squid are in reality considered to be like as smart as a kitty cat. So it's like those are some dumb squids. Squidward's brother, I mean, geez, don't even get me started on SpongeBob. It's like, it could be the best cartoon ever made. I don't know. It's like there are some good ones, right? The old Fred Quimby Tom and Jerry joints. Those were pretty indestructible. And of course, the old Merry Melodies, Bugs Bunny, Daffy Duck, Yosemite Sam, Taz, Porky Pig cartoons, like those were pretty berserk as well. But beyond those, I don't know. Somebody's going to say anime. I mean, look, I used to watch Star Blazers in the early 1980s. I was into anime, but I read comic books and stuff. So it's like, I'm a proper nerd. You don't even know. Not a geek. Don't get them confused. Don't get them confused, folks. They're very different. If gravity pulls everything closer, why is everything moving away from each other? Yeah, that's an important question to ask in cosmology. And I mean, ultimately, let me sort of help your understanding of this evolve, right? Yeah, gravity pulls everything closer. Here's the weird part. When we look at galaxies, based on how fast galaxies themselves are rotating, they should all be flying apart. But they're not flying apart. They have missing mass. So that's why we consider dark matter to be a thing, right? Dark matter is the ad hoc explanation to explain to us why galaxies are not flying apart, right? So the reason galaxies are not flying apart is attributed to, in sort of the standard, in what we call the cold lambda dark cold dark matter model. That is that the missing mass, the mass that is preventing galaxies from flying apart due to their rotational momentum, their rotational mass. In other words, there has to be missing mass, or galaxies couldn't rotate as fast as we think they're rotating. Now, maybe they're rotating more slowly than we think they're rotating. You have to understand what you're measuring, right, in any scenario. So yeah, if gravity pulls everything closer, why is everything moving away? And not only moving away, but it's believed to be accelerating. So like this galaxy that's very far away and this galaxy that's very far away, they're moving away from us even faster than the closer galaxies that are mostly also moving away from us farther in the cold dark matter, the lambda cold dark matter model. And look, stellar evolution is all built into that too. So it's pretty complex, but lots of people understand it, and that's a good thing because cosmology is due for some some major rewrites. And you're asking, why is everything moving away from each other? We have no idea, right? The the idea that things are moving away from each other is attributed to the Big Bang. Like, this is the things like the Hubble constant, they're considered to be support for the Big Bang. That there was a Big Bang, that everything's moving apart, and that there was nothing or something, everything was a singularity, whatever, right? Big Bang cosmology. It's a completely unprovable hypothesis about how the universe formed. Like, it's basically generated by people's weakness to say, I don't know how a thing occurred, right? It's very, very important in science for you to know what you don't know, right? A lot of the stuff you don't know is just waving right in front of your face. So don't have like confirmation bias and like assume you do know a thing that you don't know. Ignorance is the root of all knowledge. So like, don't screw this up. There are known knowns, there are known unknowns, and there are unknown unknowns. It's only a matter of time before we discover the unknown unknowns that explain cosmology. And it may already be explained, but it takes a long time to incorporate new explanations into a thing as complex as what cosmology has become over the past 100 years. It takes people a long time. If you imagine what it would be like if you spent 40 years studying the expansion of the universe to discover that the universe isn't expanding. What if all the galaxies were essentially stationary and only moving in relation to each other at relatively low speeds? What if that's going on? What if the universe isn't really expanding? What if galaxies are just kind of sitting still? What does that do to your brain, right? Because if like that's one of the biggest evidence systems for the Big Bang. Like, what if the Hubble constant is nothing, right? What if we discover that galaxies are just moving in relation to each other, but not expanding? Like, what if the Hubble constant, what if the expansion is just based on some kind of measurement problem, some kind of fundamental thing we don't understand about what happens with light when it's traveling over great distances? It's pretty hard to measure what happens with light traveling 1 billion light years. Also, keep in mind, there's a lot of stuff in between us and most of the light. So when you shine light through all kinds of crazy things, right? Like, what happens when you shine light through the corona of a neutron star? Like, what happens? Would you like to provide some data on that? What, you don't have any? Yeah, of course not. Like, we see a lot of crazy stuff, like gravitational lensing. Like, some gravitational lensing looks absolutely bonkers. So is it just caused by gravity alone? Maybe. Maybe there's a bunch of dark matter that we can't see. Who knows? We do not know. That's the answer to a lot of important things, folks. If you're unable to say I don't know in response to a question, then you have to work on that. You have a problem. Admit that you don't know a thing. Ignorance is the root of all knowledge. Most astronomers and cosmologists aren't just idiots who've earned a degree and they're like, duh, I don't know how anything works. That's not what people do. They want to study a specific thing, so they go to school for it, they get a PhD, they spend a decade studying a thing, and then they spend more decades studying it even more and encouraging other people to do so by writing papers. They're not idiots, all right? Not every scientist is just a moron. Some scientists are, there's a range of morons and smarty pantses in science. Some scientists are dum-dums. Some scientists are super smart. There's a continuum, like in anything else. So yeah, so that's how the channel came into existence. All right, because one, there's a need for daily space weather content. All right, that's the main reason. There is no acceptable daily space weather content. So that's why we did that for over 6 years. putting out really, really in-depth videos showing all the close-ups of the sun, showing the sunspots, explaining what the magnetic fields do, talking about timing CMEs, forecasting CMEs before they even propagate out of the solar corona, naming filaments using the hashtag #NameThatFilament on Twitter, and all kinds of other things because look, when there's darkness, you just light a candle. That's the way it works. And there was certainly darkness. So shout out to Tamitha Skov, the only space weather channel that I'll probably ever endorse. Because, no, I shouldn't say that. There'll be plenty of good ones eventually. But at the moment, there's two. The Smash News Network least busted Damon News and space weather woman Tamitha Skov. Dr. Skov helps train people to be certified in space weather. Yeah, you got to have some kind of credentials for it. I'm not sure. You may have to have an undergrad degree. I don't think you even have to have an undergrad degree. It's just like a course that you take. So, like, there are prerequisites for it. I think you probably have to have physics 1 and 2. And maybe meteorology. No, I don't know. I think you just have to have physics 1 and 2. And you may have to have some math. You may have to have, like, calculus. But it's something like that. It's just academic requirements, I believe. Millersville.edu. Millersville.edu. It's located, it's right down the road from me, okay? It's less than an hour from where I'm located. It's, in fact, like, we got to get that on a cycling jersey, right? Because, I mean, you have to, like, surround yourself with excellence. So I can't get the certification for space weather. I don't have the academic requirements for it. I mean, I've taken physics, I've taken college astronomy, but I don't think I have. Yeah, I would imagine you have to have at least physics 1 and 2. And here's why. You know how people talk about how the universe is electric, everything's electric. You know how people say that nonsense? It's not true. Like, the universe is not electric. Everything is not electric. So get over that nonsense and stop saying it. When people say everything's electric, it means that they either don't understand what everything is or what electric is. Like, those are your choices. Everything is definitely not electric. Let me demonstrate. See the handle on this knife? It's plastic. It doesn't conduct electricity. See this? This is metal. This does conduct electricity, and even this isn't really electric. I mean, if I connect electrodes to it and then connect a battery to it, it's conducting electricity. But is this knife electric? Is this handle, which is an insulator, like, I could touch this to a wire, and I'm not going to get shocked unless it's a lot of voltage. So, like, what? You think this knife handle is electric? Is the insulation on a wire electric? Right? It's there literally to block electricity. You think it's electric? People will say, the only reason you're not falling through that floor, Dan, is because electrons are repelling each other. That's what makes an object solid. Yeah, okay. But that doesn't make it electric. What the hell? Everything is not electric. When you hear a guy say energy or frequencies, that's not science, okay? Like, we hear that all the time. People say, EMF. EMF? Electromagnetic fields? No, electromagnetic frequencies. What? What is it? What frequencies? What is that supposed to mean? It's meaningless. Like, electromagnetic frequencies? Like, this is when people say chemtrails are a thing. They're like, contrails plus electromagnetic frequencies. What? What is that supposed to mean? Solar radiation management in the stratosphere. With which planes? With which pilots? With which chemicals? Like, this is what pseudoscientists go down this road. You go, that's not a thing. Here's why. And then they go, but this other thing that has a word that I don't understand in it. Like, what? Like, non-science people identify themselves rapidly when they start talking about science topics, right? because they don't understand what they don't know and what they do know. They don't know enough about the science to know what they don't know and what they do know. And as a result of that, they say things that make no sense. Those of us who understand science, we know what not to say. Because when we reach a subject that we don't understand, then we use limited language so that we don't say something that's incorrect. Because we understand enough about the underlying physics to not do that and discredit ourselves. This is why I'm allowed to talk to scientists. When I reach out to scientists, guess what they do? They respond because I have valid questions and I talk like somebody who understands the subject matter. Because I'm somebody that understands the subject matter. So anyway, the point is I didn't get into this out of nowhere. I started studying space weather in the early 2000s when I became a licensed insurance agent, selling long-term care insurance policies to AARP members at AARP Healthcare Options for the Hartford Fire Insurance Company. So that was where I started studying space weather, and I didn't do it super formally or anything, but I started following spaceweather.com. Spaceweather.com, it's a spectacular website. Check it out. Spaceweather.com. Run by some dude who's just fine with his space weather stuff. And yeah, it's a good site. It has information about cosmic ray flux, so that you know that if you're gonna, you could plan a polar flight differently, right? If you're planning a flight where you're gonna fly to Asia over the pole or something like that, you can sort of limit your radiation exposure by timing that to when the proton event ends, or to when the CME impact ends, or the coronal hole high-speed stream ends, or whatever. Space weather, it will be only increasingly important as time goes on, because the emphasis on private space flight is only going to go up, right? You're going to be able to enter space on a family vacation. That's a thing that is coming. So get ready. It's less than 5 years away where it's going to be in the five figures to go to space. It's probably more like 2 years away, but they don't want to tell you that because they want to be look, it's only 65 grand to go to space now. That's going to be a thing. Watch. You think I'm wrong? I mean, if you viewed this channel for a while, you would know better than to think I was wrong about a forecast like this, because I'm definitely not wrong. But hey, believe what you like. I'm not here to convince you of jack. I'm just going to say what I like and let the chips fall where they may, and accountability always comes. So when you're right over and over and over and over again, guess what happens? People notice, because your credibility doesn't turn to crap. Yep, so let's talk about current space weather conditions, now that I've sort of gone briefly into my resume. Yes, I study space weather because of its implications on cosmology. I'm trying to look from the outside in, but there's no way to do that when it comes to cosmology, because it's all based on heliophysics. Moving right along here to solar filaments. So let's take a look at solar filaments briefly. And I'm going to flip the phone around here. I'm going to flip the screen and the script. All right, so let's take a look at, here's El Teide, Spain's ground-based observatory, and we've got some massive filaments. And I see one that needs a name for sure. So this one up here, oh geez, look at the filaments. Dag. All right, that is serious filamentation there. Check it out. Look at all these filaments in here. This one here is epic. I mean, look at that. I'm going to call that the Gene Simmons filament. That's getting uploaded right now. So if you don't follow us on Twitter, maybe you oughta. You could name filaments as well. And this one, to many people's chagrin, because a lot of people dislike Gene Simmons. He seems like a douchebag. But maybe he's the nicest guy yet ever met. as I've never met him. But there are certainly some horror stories, and some of them are hilarious. So we're going to name that one the Gene Simmons filament. I don't know why. Is that even the real Gene Simmons? Are you kidding me? It doesn't even have a check mark. Of course, he wouldn't have a check mark because he's Gene Simmons. Anyway, that's what we're naming it after. If you'd like to name filaments after your friends, foes, or even yourself, then join us over on Twitter, which I refuse to call X because I'm not going to say a letter to represent a brand. It's called Twitter. So, period. I'll bet Gene Simmons doesn't have a Twitter, right? Have they done their final reunion tour yet? Reunion tour number 67? I think they started doing reunion tours in the 1980s. So yeah, if you want to name filaments, and we encourage you to, join us over on Twitter. The activity over there is pathetic. So, I mean, we barely see anything about space weather. We see mostly just redundant anti-science posts and nonsense about politics and nonsense directly from Elon Musk, stupid like meme shares, and it's quite pathetic indeed. But then social media is quite pathetic, period. TGO Fat Girl says, tell us about Jesus. What does TGO stand for? Tell us about Jesus. All right. Jesus had some philosophies. What are your views on Pakistan? Pakistan is a mess. That's what my views are on Pakistan. That is a place to not go on vacation. It's higher on my bucket list than Saudi Arabia and Iran, but it's really low on my bucket list. Of all the places in the world I could go, Pakistan would be one of the last. It is not good. Not good. Is the regime corrupt? I have no idea. I don't pay attention to it. Are the neighboring regimes corrupt? Probably. Pakistan. It's basically Afghanistan. Like, it's desolate and with good reason. Would you go there? Learn something new every day. Yes, that's a smart move. Dracula99 says, Scooby-Dooby-Doo. Cheers. TGO Fat Girl says, you're talking about how smart characters are on a kids show where they make fire underwater. I know, it's an amazing show. It's an amazing show. In fact, let's talk about another character who's inordinately intelligent. Sandy the Squirrel. Sandy the Squirrel is a squirrel who is so freaking smart that she has built an underwater dome as well as a suit that looks like an astronaut suit that she goes around underwater in. I think it's even explained at some point why she has, I don't know if that's just her vacation spot. She built like a vacation home biodome there or something. But that's the smartest squirrel ever as well. Sandy the Squirrel. She has all kinds of weapons. She knows karate. She and Spongebob even train and like do karate together. So yeah, it's the smartest sponge ever and the smartest squirrel ever, smartest crab ever, smartest zooplankton ever. SpongeBob, it's too good. I mean, did you ever see when the sardines show up at the Krusty Krab? What about when Nosferatu shows up and starts messing with the lights? There are plenty of jokes for adults in there, folks. Plenty of jokes for adults. Dracula99 says, Shaggy. Oh, I see what's going on. Shit. Do I got to dress up as Shaggy for Halloween? Oh, man. I got the wrong color shirt. But oh, geez. I can't. How would I dress up as Shaggy? I would have to have like I would have to have like a Scooby-Doo stuffed animal with me or something. I could like have a Scooby-Doo puppet, right? And I could do ventriloquism. That'd be a pretty good costume. Shaggy. Dracula 99 says, "Can I get some more likes, folks? We got 15 viewers and 5 likes. Sup with you? I know it's early morning, but press the things. Press share, most of all. And thanks to everybody who has." Cartoon for kids back then, where different cartoons now repeat themselves like if we're special ed. So true. So true. Yo, I think the old Tom and Jerry's are my favorite. And you know why? Because the music and because those matte paintings and just the art. The art was so beautiful. I mean, it was like Art Deco. It was so good. I mean, like, look at those old Fred Quimby Tom and Jerry episodes. They're just stunning. The artwork they have in the background and even the artwork on the moving characters is just amazing. I think Tom and Jerry is my favorite. I used to watch Scooby-Doo too. I mean, most of those Hanna-Barbera ones were crap though. Like, anybody watch the USA Cartoon Express in the 1980s? Right before the Kung Fu movies came on? Oh man, Cartoon Express. It was like 4 hours of cartoons or something. 7 a.m. to 11 a.m. or something like that. 7 to 10, 3 hours maybe? I don't know. And then they played 2 back-to-back Kung Fu movies. So it was 4 hours of Kung Fu films. That's like the wintertime kid's dream. Just freaking cartoons and Kung Fu for like half the day. No one truly understands it. All too true. TGO Fat Girl says God made the universe. Okay, but using physical processes, right? Doesn't God use physical processes to do everything else that God does? So which physical processes did God use to make the universe? We want to know. That's what cosmology is. The sound keep moving supposedly. One galaxy equals one planet. One galaxy equals one planet? Maybe the galaxy is just a hallucination. Maybe the galaxy isn't really there, and our collective consciousness is just creating this fantasy that is the Milky Way galaxy, right? Maybe that's what's going on. Don't limit your thinking, folks. A lot of stuff that we find out in science is weirder than you may have expected, not less weird. So yeah, major solar filaments going on right now. Let's show an animation of the sun real quick because I got to end this stream eventually. There has to be a path to this stream being over. So as much as I like talking to you people, it's still... And of course, if there are any non-people entities, if you don't identify as a person, if you identify as an interdimensional being, extraplanar entity, deity, alien, extraterrestrial, ethereal, astral entity, like if you're viewing from the future, from the past, if you're me viewing from a different timeline or something like that, don't forget to press the like button, press subscribe, and so let's see. Shall I show some animations? Let's see what's going on with the magnetic field situation on the closest star, and of course, we'll call out sunspot number and so on. So proton flux remains flatlined. No SEPs, solar energetic particle events. Take a look at the coronagraphs here. Doesn't look like we have any new CMEs on the way. We've got all the data looking like it's pretty good here. There was only one C-class event in the past 24 hours, so flaring is minimal. The most likely place for a large flare is probably still at that southwestern limb, as there is a large sunspot there. And does it still have complex fields? Yeah, there's some field complexity. You want to see it? We can show you that. I think we can accommodate that. Whoops, there we go. Let me zoom back out for a second here. Get this properly centered. So there you go. There are the magnetic fields of those sunspot groups. And these have degraded since yesterday. So these are less magnetically complex than they were yesterday. But there still are certainly some beta gamma class. Yeah, there are still beta gamma deltas there. So that, you know, these areas right in here where it's kind of fuzzy, those areas right there are still ready to produce X-class flares. So we could see an SEP from this solar energetic particle event. That's where they usually occur, is from the limb. Let's just show an animation here briefly. We'll show you the past. We'll show you just today to date. We'll show you yesterday plus today. How's that? I hope that's okay, because this is a dictatorship. It's a space weather dictatorship. So we'll show the fields degrading here because they probably did. No, it's not too bad. There's still some roiling undulations happening there. So that's a good thing if you are a fan of space weather, or if you want to see solar flares and SEPs and so forth. If you're an astronaut, you really don't want to see SEPs. So, you know, those of you who are in space and watching this video, you ought to be ready to jump into that radiation shielded room, because there certainly could be an SEP generated here. So that is a concern, but besides that, and of course a large flare is sort of instant radiation, because a flare is the radiation. So anyway, remember folks, don't get flares and CMEs confused. A CME is mostly protons, and a solar flare is photons. So a solar flare is just X-rays. So think of it like a flashlight, okay? Think of it like a really high frequency flashlight, right? And what is a CME? Gas. A CME is gas. And it's a lot less dense than the gas on the Earth, okay? The solar wind is about 1/4 the density of the gas down here at sea level. Now, we're not at sea level, but I mean on Earth at sea level. It's about 1/4 the density in space where we measure the solar wind at L1. All right, we're going to bring up one more series of animations here and then close this mother out, because this video is just strictly about space. We're not talking about Earth news stories. We're not talking about like Earth weather. No thanks. There's plenty going on in space, so we'll just stick to that. So let's see where that largest flare came from. I suspect it probably came from that southwestern limb, as we forecasted yesterday, because there is about, as we've stated, about a 4% higher chance of a large flare at the limb. So let's just see if that prediction was correct. Here's the animation. Let me shrink this down to size. I think one more shrinkage. There we go. That's good enough. So there you go. So there was a C-class event there. It looks like it actually came from the southeastern limb. But it is basically still a limb flare. So yeah, it's we're not really wrong there, stating that flares are more likely coming from the limb. All right, so we'll get to your comments here and we'll close this mother out while I still have some time to chill before heading off to work. So let's see. What if they lied to us and we could breath in space? I don't know. Maybe one day you'll be able to go to space and see if you can breath in space. I'll bet you can't breath in space, though. I mean, what the heck? You can go up a large mountain, and the atmosphere's thinner up there, so how the hell would they lie to us about going into space where you can't breath? It's spelled breathe, by the way. B-R-E-A-T-H-E. Dracul at 99. Damn. Learn the English language before you start worrying about space being fake. I mean, what the heck? Didn't you ever go to a high altitude location? You know what hypoxia's like? Go experience it someday. You'll definitely believe that the atmosphere thins as you gain elevation. Just reading your comments here, folks. Just reading your comments. Yeah, I don't know what the heck that means. One galaxy, one planet. That is not a thing. Galaxy and a planet are nothing alike, and the solar system and the galaxy are nothing alike, and even other stellar systems are nothing like this solar system. Matrix. Barb says Matrix. Well, maybe you'd be pleased to find out, Barb, that I'm Neo. So for everybody who's not aware, I'm Neo. So congratulations on finding the channel. If you want to be delivered from the nonsense, you press the subscribe button. Otherwise, you're not going to see the content in your convoluted subscription feed full of crap. Crap. There's so much crap on YouTube that you can barely open the app without a turd spewing out of your phone charging port. Let's put on a different animation, which I like better. Wait, there are coronal holes. Let's show those as people think they're very spooky. Ooh, wait a minute, folks. We're going to load up coronal holes now. You've got something to be spooked of. So you're welcome. Coronal holes. Ooh, people think they can be used to forecast earthquakes. Well, guess what? People think sheep's bladders can be used to forecast earthquakes too. That is a nice coronal hole. I love the way it has like a 90-degree angle to it. That is one of the boxiest coronal holes ever. And keep in mind, folks, that is very bumpy. So what you're seeing there is very deceptive. It looks like a giant L. A giant backwards L. Or it looks like something, I'm telling you. That is a pretty cool coronal hole. There's a big, like, puffy filament of plasma. Like, yo, there's a lot going on right now. For real. Like, we could see a major CME happen. And, you know, that hydrogen alpha imagery that I showed you earlier, check this out. This is no joke. Like, look at the level of filaments here. Let me put this side by side. There we go. So, shrink that down. There we go. That's perfect. So this is the past. This is just going back to yesterday. This is a pretty similar time frame here. So look at how vastly different these images look. So this is the hydrogen alpha ground-based El Teide telescope, part of the National Sunspot Observatory. And look at all those filaments, especially the Gene Simmons filament. This one up here, the Gene Simmons filament. But look at these. Look at this one down here. This one could blast off and strike the Earth. This one could blast off and make a massive proton event. So, like, we could really see a major SEP here. Solar energetic particle event. There is definitely sufficient material already suspended in the corona here. So this is very, very bumpy here. This is a lot. This is very deceptive. All right. Look at that. That's almost the same time frame there. Let me just kind of make it the same speed. So there you go. Massive coronal hole there in the southern hemisphere. It is actually, that is a North Pole oriented coronal hole, I think. Let's check the potential field surface source data. And indeed it is. So there it is. Earth is in a North Pole oriented magnetic sector. There it is. So yeah, that's what's going on in the heliosphere. Big coronal hole. Earth is moving toward a South Pole oriented magnetic sector. And if you're wondering, the current sheet is going to be right here. There is a current sheet right there. There's one right here. And Earth is about 36 hours away from switching back to a south pole-oriented magnetic sector. So there are the filaments once again. Major filaments there all over this Earth-facing portion of the solar disk, which is what we like to see. Fingers crossed for space weather coming soon. So anyway, thanks for tuning in, everybody. Again, make sure you leave comments, even if you're viewing in syndication. Oh, we've got more comments here, so let me take care of those real quick and then close this mother out. Mr. Nobody says, let's talk about the mass and density of an object as it gets closer and enters a black hole. Why? I mean, it does get compressed as it approaches a black hole. So, but it's like getting compressed and pulled apart at the same time. Hi, and thanks for all the comments, everybody. We really appreciate that. Could you press the like button as we have 19 viewers and 10 likes? Also, don't forget to press share as we keep this video under 1 hour. We are currently at 56 minutes and 27 seconds and counting. So, Nocturnal Domain retracted a comment. Ooh. Proton event. Yeah, there is a proton event is very likely, actually. A proton event is very likely. Thomas Yinawine says, what's the distance between us and Uranus? I don't know the distance between us and Uranus, and I don't care, but it's a thing you can easily look up. You do have access to the internet. It's the medium on which you're viewing this very video. Amanabel Giaween Quarasikian says, the sun goes around the sky. Kinda, maybe from your perspective. Oh, we've got delete. All right, who's deleting messages? Siddharth. Okay. Siddharth Singh, you're going to be running into problems. Never delete messages on our channel again, or you will be muted. How about that? I'm restoring all of the comments that you've deleted, and then I'm going to remove your wrench. So let this be a lesson to everybody who has a wrench. This is a censorship-free channel. We are free speech advocates. So deleting messages will get you muted. Dude. Yeah, I mean, we can't throw anybody out of YouTube. So, oh, well, it's not. So, your wrench is gone. Bye. Well done. Way to pathetically delete a bunch of comments. That is our least favorite thing. All right, so let me get to the comments. Thanks for creating a logistical nightmare. Maybe we should just delete everybody's wrench. I don't know. This is like we've seen 2 examples of this in the past week. Ah, yes, using ASCII characters so that you can comment on things that would otherwise get you muted, banned, etc. Nice. Jeez. Yeah, never delete comments on our channel. We are actual free speech advocates, not free speech phonies who ban, mute, like, that's not done in science. Silencing people only makes them feel like martyrs. So don't do it. The answer to dumb speech is smart speech. Next! Don't make me come and find you, because I will find you and shame you. Amanda Bell thinks believing the Earth is a globe is pathetic. Nocturnal Domain says a lot of radiation in space go deep there. Movement until minus 273 to the 15th power Celsius. Absolutely zero movement. Hope it's not a kiss moron Gene Simmons you talking about. Cool story. We've gone over 1 hour. Thanks to some dummy deleting comments. If you really want to get on my bad side, engage in censorship, because I will come for you. Remember how I said I'm Neo? Okay. Enjoy that. Kid Cutie says, do you know that feeling when after wiping, a little piece of toilet paper gets stuck and rubs between your cheeks all day, making it sore? No, I don't think I've ever had that happen. I mean, I can imagine what the feeling would be, but that's happened to me 0 times, Kid Cutie. So, but thanks for the comment. Emmanuel says, then use water, governor. Use water. Usually available in most bathrooms. Nocturnal Domain says, Jesus had been abused throughout time. That's a bit sad. You could say that. I think that's part of the story, isn't it? Kid Cutie Hem, use water after dumping. Water. The best thing at hydration. Water, the wettest thing that there is so wet viscosity's measured by it. By the way, if I was a timeless immortal entity worth billions of dollars, I wouldn't tell you. Speedy Gonzalez, yeah, that's me. If you think you know somebody faster than me, that's adorable. Idiocracy was a documentary. Yeah, idiots. Idiots rule the world, folks. Idiots. All right. Oh, geez. Are we almost done with the comments here? There's a lot of comments. And thanks for so many comments, folks. Like, you're keeping me on here well beyond when I was expecting to get off. So, nice job. Nice job. Hello. Hello from the U.S. Oh, and Siddharth, you also get a 24-hour timeout. You've been muted for 24 hours. Enjoy. Now you can't comment either. So wrench gone, no commenting, 24 hours. Come back tomorrow, and maybe you'll have redeemed yourself. Coronal, yeah, it should be called a coronal hole. That would be, folks, look at this coronal hole here. This coronal hole, this thing's going to cornhole you. Oh my God, it's going to cornhole you. And no, it can't be used to forecast earthquakes. A forecast has to have a time and a place. Not, ooh, there's going to be an earthquake on Earth. What the hell do you do if somebody says there's going to be an earthquake on Earth? What do? Evacuate the planet? Like, there's going to be an earthquake somewhere. It's not a forecast. So can you like get this out of your brain? We hear this all the time. People are like, Stefan Burns is right every time he says there's an earthquake is going to happen. Yeah, so's everybody else. 6 magnitude earthquakes happen every 18 hours or something? I don't know exactly what the stats are because we don't cover it, because it isn't space weather. It isn't even correlated to space weather. So I'm going to do some mewing now.
What is up with the flat earthers? I mean, this is the lowest hanging fruit that there is in science. Flat Earth? What? Why do you think the stars rotate counterclockwise in the northern hemisphere and clockwise in the southern hemisphere? Maybe because we're on a sphere? Maybe? Like what? What? How does a lunar eclipse happen? Like, how about come up with one theory that explains the seasons and the day-night cycles? Like, what are you, 4 years old? How can you think that the planet is not a sphere? It's so stupid. All the other planets clearly look like spheres. You can buy a telescope for like $50 and like see the rings of Saturn. It's clearly a sphere. How does anybody think the planet is flat? It's so pathetic. Like, oh my gosh. Like the level of stupidity and ignorance versus the amount of information available is at the highest level it's ever been. The, I should say the information to ignorance, the information to ignorance ratio is just, so you'll stay below 2,500 meters, you'll get too dizzy above. Why will you get dizzy? Because there's not enough air, because the atmosphere gets thinner as you go closer and closer to space, where there's effectively no air to breathe. Could that be why? It is a cesspool on YouTube. It's pathetic. Like the people that are paid tens of thousands of dollars a month to completely lie to their viewers is just fucking sickening. Like what? You're just salaried to just lie to people all fucking day long. Like just completely make up nonsense about space weather, geophysics, like so many channels talking such nonsense. Like what? You're like coronal holes forecast earthquakes and Mercury in retrograde determines crypto trading volume or something? Fuck you. Fuck you. Like, oh my gosh. I want to clothesline people into a different galaxy. Like, you do not want to step in the squared circle with me. I will body slam you and give you a leg drop at the same time. It's a new move that I've just made up in the past week. Don't make me try it out on you. I will clubline you, and a neutron star will form right here. Coronal looks a bit like the pharynx. I sound like Dan Aykroyd. Well, thank you. Dan Aykroyd is a very, very rich, intelligent, and interesting person who makes Crystal Skull vodka, I might add. Have you ever tried it? Maybe I'll have to pick up a bottle and do a review. Maybe it's an upcoming cycling sponsor. By the way, we're looking for sponsors for 2026. It's September, baby. So it's already time to shop for who gets to appear on next year's jerseys. This year was a hell of an interesting year because my employer is on there. Yeah, I'm paid to ride bikes. So there's that. Maybe Crystal Skull Vodka will be coming to a bike race near you. It's entirely possible. Don't rule out the possibility. Jesus, the sun looks like a cyclops with a big nose and a lifelong lip. WT heck. I get that. Oh, geez. Yeah, that's pretty good. Yeah, it looks like a giant nose. You better watch out. It could turn into a Hitler mustache. I see like a Charlie Chaplin thing going there. Is the sun gonna tell some jokes? Like that looks like one of those disguise things, right? Like with the disguise glasses, you get those things that have like the glasses and the nose and the mustache. It looks a little like that, no? Like, uh, oh, geez. Who thinks the sun's conscious? Leave a comment. Let us know. I see another hidden comment that I'm trying to restore here. I think I've actually responded. I think I've actually, wait. All right. In Siddharth Singh's defense, Siddharth did unhide. Siddharth was trying to hide comments for himself, allegedly, and he got muted for 24 hours. All right. None removed by me. Yes, thank you. Never been to the channel before. What are we looking at? We're looking at the sun, I think. I like you support free speech. I subscribed, even though you believe globe Earth. All right. Well, hey, you've taken a step in the right direction. Like, I'm not going to steer you wrong. If somebody convinces me that Earth isn't a globe, I'm going to tell you Earth isn't a globe. Period. I call balls and strikes, and that's it. Buddha Toast says, you're the boss. What's this channel about? It's mainly about space weather. I mean, we did over 6 years of the world's most comprehensive daily space weather content and most detailed solar imagery. And now we put out mostly cycling content because the algorithm, like, it's a monetized channel. So there's a lot of stuff that we don't control. It's like we can't put out content that is a waste of our time because it's a waste of our time. We're paid to do this. So we have to put out videos that the algorithm actually recommends to people. So yeah, it's mainly about space weather. We also talk meteorology. There are videos about our aquariums, and lots of cycling content, and only more coming because I recently bought a domain, GoProBike.com, and so yeah, there's a lot going on. Jordan Jewell says the ASL. You mean age, sex, location? Old, male, Lehigh Valley, Pennsylvania, the capital of cycling, the world capital of cycling. How's it going being a corning douche? Guess he didn't like your talk on Pakistan. Yeah, maybe. I mean, a lot of people in India don't like Pakistan since India and Pakistan have been at odds for probably 1,000 years. I don't know how long, a long time. Pakistan and India don't like each other too much, at least as countries. Certainly the regimes. Anyway, back to the science. Where did he get his space weather degree? Well, I love you too, regardless of whether you think the Earth is flat. That's part of the reason why I don't want you to think the Earth is flat, because it's just ridiculous. I mean, didn't you ever see a ship go to the beach, right? Watch a ship disappear or appear over the horizon. A ship that's appearing over the horizon, what happens? You see the mast first, and then you see the midship, and then you see the hull. Why is that? Because it's traversing a sphere. That's why. It's very, very simple. When a ship disappears, the hull disappears first, and then the midship, and then the mast. Why? Like, how would it do it if it's flat? You can watch it happen with a camera. Jeez. Oh, the light curves because reasons, except it doesn't, because you can see stuff hundreds of miles away. If you can see stuff hundreds of miles away from a mountaintop, why the hell can't you see a ship's midship as it disappears over the horizon before the mast? Why? There's only one explanation, so just face the facts. Amanabel says the sun is alive. Maybe, but how would you prove it? Is the sun conscious? Nanvit Raj says hi. Hi. How's the weather? It's beautiful, but there's some rain rolling in. So Lehigh Valley, PA. Oh, the late summer. Oh my gosh. The late summer and fall in Lehigh Valley are just bonkers. I wouldn't live anyplace else in the whole world that I know of. And yeah, it's also one of the best cycling communities in the world. Look, man, if you're trying to promote tourism in Pakistan, give me a reason to go there. But I'm scared to go there because it seems like a terrible, terrible place. Like just this side of Afghanistan. Like Afghanistan is right below Pakistan on my list of places I don't want to go. So, yeah, not a fan. Not a fan. But I'm also not a fan of a lot of places. Like I don't want to go to Egypt right now. I don't want to go to anywhere in the Middle East. Most of Africa and most of South America. I don't want to go to those places either. Like they're far too dangerous. If you are taking requests, more Pennsylvania mountain trail biking. Yeah, I mean, that's where I got my start in bike racing. Barb was as a cross-country mountain bike racer. That was where I went pro in 1999. So, yeah, I know a lot of trails, but I don't ride them very much because I don't have them like adjacent to my backyard. If I had a trail where I could like go out the back door and 100 feet away there is a trailhead, then I would 100% ride off-road a lot. But the scene here is road. So that's what I ride because that's where I am. They've been at war since 1947. Okay, thank you, Nocturnal. I appreciate that. How about the Anunnaki and Nirubi or Planet Nine? How about those aren't a thing? If there was a planet, we'd be able to see it. If there was a brown dwarf floating around, we'd be able to see it because brown dwarfs emit radiation. That's why they're brown and not black. So I don't think there is a Planet Nine or anything like that. We'd see perturbations at the very least. Space is largely empty. So, like, where would it hide? Why isn't it? Why don't we see it? Like, it's not a thing. Because of the Kashmir province. All right, thank you. Been working on ships for 3 years, and yes, they go down the horizon. Right. Yeah, I mean, like, what the hell? When a ship sails off, it goes down the horizon. The hull disappears first, then the midship, then the mast. Convicted felon DJT from Space Force AL, which ranks 45th of the 50 states on average of all subjects education. Yes, smart move, and yes, Earth is round. Actually, oblong, it's fatter at the equator. That's true. The Earth does have an equatorial bulge. So, and that has to do with the tides. That bulge is, the Earth is constantly going like this. The water is sloshing up and down, sort of. All has to do with the fact that the planet's spherical. Guess you'll be fine here in Denmark. Ah, you're in Denmark. Yes, indeed, I am a cyclist. I am paid to ride bikes. This is the race team, theveloshop.net. Visit the website for all your cycling needs and tell Becky and Don that Dan sent you. We're on a first-name basis. Also, you've got the Smash News Network, These Busted Name of News, this very channel, and my employer, Dream Firms. So, yeah, paid to ride bikes. So, yeah. Anyway, time to close this thing out. Thanks for tuning in, folks. Thanks for everybody leaving comments. And we'll see you soon here at the Smash News Network, These Butts and Name of News. Until next time, I've been your host, Dan, a.k.a. Smash-O-Mash, signing off. And may that solar wind, fast solar wind coming out of that to arrive in about a day and a half to 2 days, starting with a density wave. And may it be at your back.